the November 28th, 2022 City of Idaho Springs work session, called at 6:30. And first up, we have the Community Garden Annual Report. Welcome. Yeah, come on up, have a seat.
Here's an updated report for you guys.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you again.
Well, I'm good.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah,
new one.
different. Yeah, there was a error on my part or some procrastination and you guys got the wrong report. So this is copies of the correct report in there. And I just want to hit the highlights because I know you all can read. If you have more details, read them. And I will be happy to answer any questions. But in general, another good year at the garden. We didn't burn anything down. We didn't flood anything. So I'm going to call that excellent. One of our big things that happened this year, we always have more people ask for plots than we have plots for, but generally something almost always happens that all of a sudden it's like, oh no, we have one available, what do we do with it? But this year, everybody who asked for a plot, got a plot and planted it by their planting to get stuff in the ground deadline. So I think that is a huge landmark for us. Another thing I'd like to hit, we've had our requests for scholarships go up on the plots. And this year we were able to grant for different households got to rent plots at no cost. We like to do this. It's also economically, the long-term viability is really kind of up in the air on that without either charging more for the rest of the plots or finding some alternative funding. And even tied into this with the plots, the demands, the asks for scholarships are going up. I've noticed that the garden is very popular with single parent households. I think we had 4 this year. And it's a very popular low-cost activity for community members. And some of the gardeners I'd love to see come back. The biggest reason I hear gardeners don't come back is they're moving, and they're moving because they cannot afford the house. So I'm just throwing that out there as food for thought on that. We see it on our end. The other great thing the garden has been doing, it has been an incredible space for people of different, that just have different ideas about maybe how the world should be run. And it's this fantastic space where people are like, I'm here to play in the dirt. Are you here to play in the dirt? Let's play in the dirt together. And so that has been a wonderful side to bringing a lot of different ideas and spots into one space. Maybe not necessarily at the same time, but they're there. So it's been a great, I guess, neutralizer in a really nice way. So overall, the garden's doing good. We have no trouble making sure at least 50% of the plots go to Idaho Springs household residents because that is part of the terms of our lease. This year, to my knowledge, we had our first Empire resident ever in the garden. So I'm excited that we have folks from Empire, and as usual, Floyd Hills, generally a fairly large contingent, and kind of Fall River Road area is also the next largest contingent on that. And as I alluded to just a little bit earlier, financial in our last board meeting of Scraps to Soil, who does run the community garden, is that we've noticed that the numbers when we calculated what everything needed to cost, we did that in 2018 and 2019. That does not match the reality we are in. So it's, do we make things cost more? We're also open to really start doing some additional fundraising to ensure that this garden has some long time viability and stability, but I'm just going to throw that out there because, you know, we run into costs we didn't necessarily initially budget. And I know everyone talks about the water. I know there's a lot of work being done to keep water, but we also calculated that at this point almost 5 years ago and go, oh, we guessed wrong and we thought we were being generous.
Krista, you guys know how to have sponsors, like,
Oh yeah,
and I know you
totally
have some,
we do.
and I know that you probably have never asked, but like, would banners on your fence be something that would be motivational for?
Good question. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not against it. I know some people find it tacky, you know, I feel great about it over at the rec center ball fields, but.
Biggest thing on sponsors on the fence that would have to go through sign committee, and because of our, and I'm not saying no, but this is just off.
You mean the sign committee on Scraps of Soil?
Not with Scraps of Soil, but we would have to.
Through our community code.
Yeah, just
So
to get
you
our
go to
permits.
you go to
and then,
council for it, yeah.
you know, go to council, and also just making sure that because I know that turn right through there is kind of contentious, making sure that is not going to affect anyone's line of sight is the
Right.
other side.
Right.
Which I even know what I'm saying, we wouldn't do it.
You beat me to the punch. I just wanted to inject that, first of all, I mean, you always want to get along with your neighbor.
Right.
If you can.
Right,
And I wanted to thank the community garden for not having some of the taller plants like corn or something
Yeah.
up closer to the road. So I haven't heard a single.
But
I haven't heard a peep this year either.
No.
I honestly have to say though, like, what do you feed the sunflowers? These are like saber tooth, like crazy. I mean, the stalks on them are bigger than bamboo.
If you want the garden gossip, the sunflowers that do great are the ones scraps to soil intentionally planted in one spot to flourish that we dug out and is mentioned this far in the ground and added my homemade compost and dirt. They don't do anything. The sunflowers that people have planted in their individual plots or they were surprise sunflowers, those are the ones going crazy.
They're massive.
Crazy.
Yeah, they're like 10, 12 feet tall. I've
Yeah,
seen
the
in
mammoths.
there.
The
Yeah.
ones
they're
that do good in my backyard, the ones that the squirrels can go all over. the-
Right,
Yeah.
They love it.
yeah, they're.
So I don't know why our intentional sunflowers will never cooperate, but that's maybe our goal is to get our sunflowers going. So just there, I like that the sign ownership of, like I said, we haven't actively run any fundraising campaigns because we had a pretty good pot coming out of the rebuild. It's now time to make sure there's that money in the general fund to keep going. And just a few highlights of activities. The preschoolers from Carlson have been very active in the garden. They planted some did some flowers from us in our north end garden. They did some decorations all around. So they've been nice. July 17th was our garden grand reopening. We had about 100 people there. Just a little bit over 100 people. It was nice. We got to show off the work that has gone into this essentially since November of 2019. I got to show them our finished project. We got to tour around. So we're really excited to have that and have the community come in. I do want to mention, I know Coffee Cup has continued to donate used coffee bean sacks that we like to use as ground cover in the winter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I just want to publicly tell them thank you. And our garden, closed for the season on October 16th, because that's about when the water comes off. And just, we're open to communication ideas where people are great at getting their stuff planted. They're not necessarily great at getting their gardens put to bed for the winter, even with rent, you can't come back. It doesn't, so that's something we do continue to struggle with and get some improvement. And we'll have to figure out a way to get improvement, and I'm sure it will come.
Is it bad? Sorry. Is it bad not to like do that? Like, so I don't take my garden down and it's actually good for bees and bugs
Right.
and all the
For
good
us,
stuff.
it's more of a courtesy thing.
Yeah,
It's not, if somebody's not coming back to that bed, then it's not fair to leave
Right,
your
right,
stuff
right.
for a future generation. It's that, and I don't mind looking at dormant plants all winter. I think not everybody feels that way, so we do, it's more of a courtesy thing than
Yeah,
anything
gotcha.
else.
that's my gardening one.
Yeah, I mean, that's my home garden in the winter. And just, we have some dates for what next year's gonna look like. I threw in some pictures from grand opening and closing of the garden, and I think if there's anything else that you really want.
Well, if you could let us know when the opening party is again, let me know. I'll make sure that I'm in town for
Oh.
next year's party. I'd like to
Yeah,
be there.
well, we're hoping to have a big summer party next year, so.
Yeah, I'd
Thank
like to be there for that
Yeah.
one.
And I just want to say on Scraps of Soil, we appreciate that you take a few minutes from your meeting to talk to us, and so that we can be on the same page about the garden. And I think it's one of the strongest measures for transparency Scraps to Soil has to the city and any of the general public that is watching to know what's going on behind the scenes of the garden, because I know sometimes it can seem like a mystery from the outside. So I really do appreciate you taking your time for that. And if anybody, any questions?
I have a question. What would you need funding wise to establish a scholarship program? Per person, what's your per person, per bit, per plot scholarship?
So
For real.
we
cost?
generally and this is kind of in our current numbers, we generally reserve our 4x8, which are the smaller beds for scholarship. And those need to be at about $100.
Okay.
per bed. We had a few donations that helped offset that cost. So, and like I said, we usually only have 2 asks for scholarships. This year it jumped to 4.
Is that for the whole season?
That's for the whole season. Yeah, it's 100, and then I should say our 4 by 12 beds are $150, and the big beds are $200.
Chris, have you guys looked into see what other communities charge for their garden beds?
We have, in our paperwork, we looked a lot at Doug, and this is specific to us because we have to cover our insurance.
Right,
We have to cover our water bill. We leave some in our fund for maintenance because I believe our, if you want to call it lease, our contract is for a 20-year leasing. So we've tried to do our numbers to make sure that there's this money here for 20 years. Different, I can tell you this, there's all kinds of pricing on community gardens. There's multiple different models of how to do it.
right,
Like first entrance, there are gardens that some of the produce is sold and that helps offset
Right.
cost. In our climate, that's probably not a realistic model for us, as much as fun as it could be.
Right.
So there's different ways, and we looked at Denver urban gardens a lot, but they're also in Denver, different climate. They're not our
Sure.
climate and our problems. I don't know what Evergreens is probably a similar model.
I'd be curious about like Fair Play.
Fair play, okay, I didn't know
Because
they
it's a
had.
high- They have a little one, yeah, like ours does.
Okay, I will check it out, and like I said, there's all kinds of different models,
Yeah.
so that's what I do know.
Well, any more questions? Well, you thorough as always. Thank you for coming to see us. And,
Yes.
You guys are doing a great job.
yeah, absolutely.
Mayor, garden related,
Yes,
the garden club is here as well.
I was gonna
Okay.
invite her up next.
All right, good.
Yeah, the other cool garden people.
That's right. Well, Chris.
Next, Chris.
And Linda, the other cool garden people, please come up. Welcome.
And just one note, the Scraps to Soil has never come, even though the members have not requested money. So,
From you guys.
oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
This is a new problem, but I'm gonna remember that next time.
Careful what you wish for.
Sponsorship.
Well, congratulations. That is a wonderful $7,500 scholarship.
I know, I
Yeah.
asked for 15, but we did get,
I'm sorry, you asked for 15,000?
yeah.
Well, I
So,
think you still
but-
knocked it out of the park.
I'm just so glad that, Linda came with me and he said, well, I know your ex-wife, and we thought that was gonna be.
We got it. Yeah,
No,
that's the end of
That's the
that.
end of that, so.
He's a traitor.
They're going, "Oh." So I was talking to Chuck earlier and we did get a $7,500 grant from the Home and Garden Show
Very cool.
for helping with the Ruth Mill Park. And it's supposed to be,
Way cool, absolutely.
but it's supposed to help also for the gardens themselves. We did not want to rename the park,
Mm,
but
Very wise.
but the gardens, because Anne passing away. And unfortunately, when I brought this to the club, they said, no, it has to be the Ann Miller the Ann Hector Chris Miller Gardens, because we were
A team.
too close. And I said, but there were memorial gardens. Come on, I'm not dead, I don't think. But
You seem okay to me.
so I was hoping that council would also let us name the gardens
So you're
that
talking
are
about the
in the
gardens
park.
in Ruth Mill.
in.
Sure, yeah.
I mean,
I don't see why not.
I
I
don't,
think their nails, they probably have that many years worth of nails.
I
just
can't
laying in that
imagine.
garden.
we'll make it formal in future meetings, but I
Yeah.
can't imagine that, that would,
It wouldn't pass.
Yeah,
Jeremy would,
that would be, yeah.
you all right?
I'm on board with it because Ann is honestly one of my favorite people.
Oh.
Mine too.
Oh, thank you.
Well-
I was gonna cry tonight, but I was hoping not.
No, it's just, that was the only thing else I learned. She was my teacher as a kid and then I continued as an adult. She's
Oh.
an amazing person.
Awesome.
I never knew she was a teacher of yours. That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
oh, it's-
But going forward, one of the things, it's not a but, this is a and. Like, I would like to have people know who you guys are, so a little plaque that commemorates both of you talking about the years that you guys have served on the garden. And then also, I never knew, honestly, until this year, that Ruth Mill Park was after a mill. I thought it was a person's name. I thought it was Ruth Mill. Who the hell is Ruth Mill? I didn't know. So if we could have a plaque about that too, to commemorate those.
See, that's a part of the signage that.
I think that would be very important. And I know John's on this. He wants to get everything, signed, but that's a good one to start from scratch.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Chris, you're not one to toot your own horn. I'm just requesting that both you and Ann be on that, because
Yes,
the community and future generations need to be informed.
absolutely.
So I'm saying we're moving through history even
Yes.
now. So I'm just asking for the benefit of the public, please
Let's get
have some equal mention.
Well, thank you.
Great, yeah.
Chuck Selkirk is going to do my sign. So that's, we're getting free things as well. Al Fry's on board for, donating the rock and everything.
Why not
So-
Rose?
Right.
I know, they're very, very generous.
So he is, so it's just a matter of getting everything, I didn't know if you needed. It's mostly the gardens itself, but we wanted to kind of spread everything out, when we did the Chi-Chi Bell Gardens and rearranged the whole city, then that's when you got the rock and stuff for Ruth Mill as well. And so, we wanted to redo all that stuff, but it's gotten, even though you put down a weed barrier,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it just needs to
I know.
get redone and, so.
Well, of course, the city would be very excited about that. Just keep us in the loop, and I'm sure folks will have nothing but applause, for what you're doing.
Do we
So-
need to submit plans or
Jared
anything?
and John both would be good to talk to, probably just about what you're thinking.
Yeah,
And they can,
because-
Jared especially, well, not Jared especially, but Jared can talk about if we need to work on something, but
Okay.
it's part,
'cause I
we've
was
been talking
gonna-
about this as a partnership, so.
Yes, because the biggest thing, because you guys were also talking about putting maybe a bus stop there, because that's, I mean, a shelter
Yeah.
at the bus stop there. And we were hoping to, help you with with that too. And I did want to, it wouldn't have my name on it, but I wanted to do a memorial bench for Anne
Hmm.
in that part too. So I didn't know if that could be in at the bus stop.
The bench is
Hey
probably
guys,
the
can you
easiest.
see some info about journey? I've been
Oh,
talking to Chris about this
Absolutely,
forever. Yeah,
yes, yeah. I don't have it on me, but I'll get it.
okay, that'd be great. Linda.
What?
I want to join. I need to learn.
Well,
You might have one.
talk to that crafts lady.
She tells me to talk to you.
Oh, So yeah, the water, of course, as the other Chris says, is the biggest thing right now. But the guys have that Paul is right in there trying to redo the water. And that's kind of, we work well together. Don't we, John?
Yes, we do.
John, does it have like sprinklers over there?
Yes. And so when we're digging up the old dirt and stuff, that's what I'm worried about is,
Mm.
because I know they already have one leak and stuff in there too, so later on, after next spring, this is just kind of exciting,
Awesome.
and I'm sorry that it went to rack and run from the pandemic, which a lot of things unfortunately did, so.
Yeah.
You guys have been really helping us so much with the flowers downtown too, and this year especially was really appreciated, so.
Yeah,
Thank
totally.
you
Well,
for that.
So is that going to continue?
Yeah.
Linda said you did not respond to her. email.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay.
I've been talking, we need to get a new vendor for flowers this year. And so I've been trying to track down somebody that can do it. And I've got a couple of possibilities, and it would be really great if you guys actually come meet with us if you would like to. There's one there,
Yeah.
like a small family shop that's located in Brighton, and they can come up and provide. They did our second order of flowers that we ended up getting this summer.
Okay.
I think they're really good, but it would be great to have you guys involved in that if you could.
Is there a reason that there's a new vendor?
The old vendor grows beautiful flowers and it's nearly impossible to work with. So they decided that it was too much work to do Idaho Springs, and so we're just gonna go in a different direction.
Cause
Small
the
family-
flowers were beautiful.
they do a good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
A small family venture is nice
Yeah.
to support too.
And they can bring them up and they can maybe give us a couple extra hands so that, we end up having a lot of beds to plant now, so.
Yeah,
I think that could be good too, so.
so you're gonna continue on with the ones that you had this year?
I think so, and I think we could look at, like, if there's anything else we'd like to do about, like add flowers, or if there needs to be flowers. Like, we had talked about a bulk purchase, maybe making that available to folks if they want to, just at the rate that the city pays, because they're cheaper. And those are still options that we have, but we do need to probably get underway like in January. It's probably, have our order go in, so.
Because we are going to have a plant sale in June
Oh, okay,
over at the
The
art
garden club.
garden club is.
okay.
Nice.
So you're gonna compete with us.
Yeah. No, we don't need to do anything. It's just, the city
it's-
flowers are all that we really care about.
Annuals and
So-
perennials.
Yeah,
Cool.
so, okay, and Chuck thinks he might have conflict, but I didn't know if anyone is invited to the award ceremony. It's gonna be probably February 1st down at the convention center.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh,
the
wow.
10th.
Oh, the 10th, I'm sorry. So that might be a conflict, because I think the preservation is on the 3rd. I think it's 13th.
And you've got a better memory than me. I was
So,
given that information like 4 weeks ago and I can't
I know.
pull those dates out of my head. But
I don't
February
want- I have a
10th.
card.
Yes.
Yes, it's supposed to be a Friday
And that is at
at the
1
convention.
o'clock, 1 PM at the convention center.
Can you throw your number on that for me?
So we could all go down in a tow truck.
that
I
would,
get pulled back up
we
in a
just got a
tow truck.
very impressive one. That'll turn some heads.
I got a few of them. Yeah. I got a couple.
Thank you.
Now, so are we gonna try to put picnic table and a couple
That's what
benches
I
in the
needed,
area?
because I think Jonathan or John was gonna find out how, because they were $800 and I know inflation and stuff.
John, do you
Because
have
I
any
would-
laying around that can go over there?
I'm sure we can find it.
We might be able to steal one from the library.
Yeah.
We've got two there.
No, I
Are they
thought
the
on the
same
flat,
kind?
so,
Yeah, the big
but I would show
Right.
you
industrial
what
yeah,
we're
yeah.
thinking. Because, we took out a bush and stuff. We just wanted to make it look like a real park.
It's a great park.
Like the rest of the town is looking.
Yeah, it's a great park. It's got so much potential.
So I just want to also invite you guys, so.
Well, thank you.
Cool.
Thanks so
Thank you.
much.
Yeah.
Any
So,
questions?
any
for Chris or
questions?
Linda?
so, yeah, we're gonna have, signage and all that, and I think, the club also, like I told Jim Fricky that the club has $5,000, so I think you can all work together, and I think that is really good, a good thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's doable.
Now, part of that park is owned by the city, right?
The whole park is.
All of it, yeah.
Yeah.
So are there any plans to rework some of that area that's become overgrown with weeds?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Well,
so
Kate's got
that's
a
a-
brand new weed whacker, so.
At the library.
Yeah.
The library's got a brand.
Do you have a, chainsaw and stuff too?
Jimmy donated it to the library. It might as well be a chainsaw. It's that strong. So
That's
they can do,
Oh,
they can do
okay.
some work, ladies.
Lynn has a chainsaw.
You are more than welcome to come and get it whenever you want.
Has everything been
So-
working good?
It's been
So-
working great.
And
After all this
I
happened-
just also, because I think I owe you a better explanation than, I don't think so.
No.
We are very short-staffed because I'm sure if we had staff, we would be on that, but
I
it
understand.
is really tight.
Mhm.
Just keeping up with what we have going on.
Yeah,
But you may find, some generous volunteers, for example, to reclaim some of what was lost. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that we had that much overgrown.
Oh, yeah.
Referring to the lot west of the park?
No,
No,
no, just
Down the hill?
for your
by the
area,
street.
yeah. It's
between the
next to
street and
the-
the
This between
playground.
the street
Okay.
and the park, you know, that one area above, on the top part, next to the sidewalk.
Yep.
That it's, has rock on it now. We just need to, you know, kill the heck out of things. I don't know what you people, I know, you know, close your ears. What do you think about Roundup?
If I could, I would ban it from the entire county, so just saying, no, yeah.
Well,
One against, how about you guys? I've been overruled.
I just want to say thank you for coming and spending some quality time and giving us an update.
Oh,
Again, congratulations.
Thank
That
you.
is great.
And so, you know, we'll keep in touch.
And look forward to seeing you February 10th, 1 p.m.
Okay,
Okay,
hopefully sooner.
thank
All
you.
right,
Thanks for your
thanks.
time.
Thank you for your time. Chris.
Thank
Hey,
you.
the last thing on our work session is the Jacob House relocation. And I am sorry, we're tight on time.
When is it
Yeah, we
happening?
can. Chief and Jared, or do you
All right.
guys wanna? I know stuff up
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're fine, you're fine. So we met with Doug about the house. And I think John Jared was there. I'm sure everyone's come up to you, but really it's, there's a flyer that he's put together. I don't know if everyone's council saw that flyer.
11, 12?
Yeah, so this really explains it. So basically the first 2 days, so there's the top picture, which is the overall route. Then the next picture is phase 1. So the 11th and 12th is just basically getting it up and then, which is gonna basically take a day. And then the next day is just to move it across the road. Yeah. To get in position, to then.
They can put it on a trailer, like though.
Yeah, it'll be an extended trailer, with quite a few axles, so it does take quite
Oh,
a
they're doing
while.
another
to make
night.
those
Oh, yeah, of course.
maneuvers.
Probably all steerable.
Probably.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just that's what
Yeah.
the enclosures.
And I was told that the rear of it.
It says here all
Oh,
steerable.
perfect.
It's gonna start
I
early.
do know that the trailer itself is so long that because we were concerned about the bridge over here.
Yeah.
And it's so long that the trailer will pretty much bridge the bridge.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's,
Yeah.
Who's
it
gonna,
won't have all the
So-
weight on it.
I've got a drone, we should film that.
Oh, it'd be cool. I mean,
Wouldn't it
really
be
get a
cool?
time lapse.
Wouldn't it? Yeah, right.
But
I think that'd be
then
fun.
the really
Who's got a
the big
drone?
day
I do.
is Tuesday, December 13th. So Tuesday, December 13th is the day that in the morning, they're gonna move it across the parking lot, basically through the back parking lot. And then up towards City Hall, and then the afternoon is basically from City Hall to across the bridge, and then it's gonna sit on the street, in the middle of the street, minor.
On minor.
So it'll sit in the middle of the street. There's gonna be hard closures, except they are gonna talk to the Mitchell White folks, make sure that they're aware, and they're gonna provide some parking. I think somewhere along the street, right, Jared? I think that's what we
Yeah.
talked about.
On the east or on the west
On the
side
west
here, kind of maybe even on the bridge, some parking.
Because it'll
it'll
basically
be-
be closed.
Sure.
Yeah, so that house is gonna be in the middle of the street for what, for a day or two, right? For
Uh,
them to start moving it and to get it off the lot.
2 to 3 days, yeah.
Exciting.
Oh, wow. Like it.
So, yeah.
So there'll be some intermittent closures of portions of the parking lot behind the businesses. So we do have in our plans to take this flyer to all the businesses, let them know. Because we also want to make sure that people tell employees, et cetera, you know, make sure that your cars aren't parked back there. Thankfully, the hours are pretty conducive to having a fairly empty parking lot between typically, you know, between like midnight and 5 is when the actual moving or something will occur, except for the Tuesday.
Yeah,
Tuesday,
Tuesday
then
is
that's a
all day,
different story, that's all
right.
day to get it over there.
Right.
But the first
Yeah,
two,
it'll be
just to
interesting.
get it out of the ground and to move it just next door, to be able to backfill the existing location.
I was gonna let the kid, I was gonna let Carlson.
Oh, yeah,
principal know,
absolutely.
hey, this might be something neat for the kids to just see.
Yeah.
The weather's not bad.
I'd say a good idea too, even
That
just
would be,
because of
yeah.
the getting it up on that trailer and all the things that have to go in. It might even be kind of a cool Friday gig. What's it called, Chris? The thing? Compass Day, yeah.
Oh,
Just the engineering involved in getting
Right.
it out there.
I think we should go on to film with the drone.
Gotta do the drone, yeah.
Dude.
Gotta do the
Do that
drone.
or
Yeah.
time lapse maybe of the first day or something.
Well, yeah, or whatever, I mean, what?
Somebody,
I don't care.
somebody a while ago posted on Facebook, like
Yeah.
one of those old video cameras of, I don't know if it was this building moving, but it was
Oh, and it
something.
might have been in
Oh, probably.
1983.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
this building moved too, and I was like, we're gonna do it again.
Yeah.
Almost 40 years since
Almost
we've
40
had
years.
one moved
Yeah.
in our city.
Another brick one too.
Yeah.
So I think they just wanted us to give kind of a brief update to
Yeah.
the council in the work session and.
Yep, absolutely. Wanted to give you an update for a couple of reasons. One, just to spread the word. So
Yeah.
that everybody kind of knows, so that nobody's caught too much off guard. And two, you
Yeah.
know, I think there's some excitement about the potential for being a spectator event as well.
Yeah,
Totally.
for sure.
So it'll start at 5 AM on the 11th.
That's the plan, to start really first thing in the morning.
Sure.
And,
You'll be there, chief, and stuff. I don't know.
That's the plan.
Hold on. Yeah, I mean, if you want to, I'm more than happy to. I think that'd be pretty cool. Fire up a
Absolutely.
drone and do that. That'd be pretty rad.
Absolutely. Tuesday might be your best day because it'd be daylight. I don't know, I guess I don't know how long it takes them to actually lift. that.
It moves very slowly. I'm sure we can
Oh,
get a little
yeah.
coverage of it.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody wants to watch the, okay, it's moving.
right.
7 hours later, it
Yeah.
arrives at its
Okay.
destination.
So that's it.
All right, well, thank you very much.
If for some reason this doesn't happen on the 11th,
Snow,
Like
it won't
weather.
be until after the first of the year.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
changes day to day.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
Cool, okay, so.
Okay, good to know.
We're
hopefully
trying
we'll
to
get some
limit-
snow.
Yeah, we're trying to limit the disruptions
Okay.
to holiday business.
Gotcha.
So it's the 11th or nothing, really.
Yeah, for this
Okay.
year.
Cool, Ruby.
All right, well, I would
Super
ask everybody, take a few minutes. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular city council meeting here at Idaho Springs on November 28, 2022. Calling it to order at 7:05. Roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon,
Here.
Kate Collier. Here. Jeremy Jones. Jim Clark,
Yes, here.
Art Cacavelli, Scott Pennell, John Curtis.
All rise, please, for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. We have an agenda before us. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for November 28th, 2022.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second? Second. And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Does anyone tonight feel they have a conflict of interest? Nope. All right. Hearing none, we'll move to the minutes. May I have a motion?
I move to approve the minutes from November 14th, 2022.
Thank you, Kate. And do I have a second? And a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of the bills for November 28th, or to November 28th. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the bills from to November 28th, 2022.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And a second, any discussion on the bills? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Jim Clark,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli, Scott Pennell, John Curtis.
Okay, do we have any public comment tonight?
No, Mayor, we do not have any signups.
All right, you got some good eyes. All right, we don't have any resolutions tonight. We do have a ordinance first reading. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance number 10, series 2022. An ordinance implementing the 1% sales tax rate increase approved by city electors on November 8th, 2022 to be dedicated to water and wastewater capital improvements and rate relief.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Jim Clark,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli, Scott Pennell, John Curtis.
Thank you. We don't have any ordinance second reading. Finance Officer Lorraine, welcome. Good to see you.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Nice to see you all here tonight, too. I'm here to review the October financial statements, and so I'll share my screen with you. In October is about 83% of the year elapsed, and so when we get to the expenditures and revenues, that's generally what you'll be expecting to see. But as always, we start with this first page that shows your combined cash of over 10 million, so that's a hefty amount of cash. And the first one that's highlighted below that is the amount that's in the general fund, the 2,054,000. And you can scan down the other funds with their shares of that 10 million are. The streets, the improvement fund and the streets sales tax fund have the other two large balances in the $2 million area. But going to page 2, we'll see that general fund amount of 2,054,000 as the first item on the balance sheet there for the general fund's assets. And we have also highlighted, I gotta change this a little. We've also highlighted the fund balance there, which is around 2 million. So of the asset of the 2 million cash, there's some claims against it in these liabilities that'll have to be paid, but leaves you with your assets of 2.4 million. And some of that's advances that are due back from the water fund and the wastewater fund. And then the fund balance of 2,011,000 in at the end of October. You see this revenue over expenditures year to date in the general fund is 307,000. So that's really very good. And we'll look at that number again when we get to the end of the expenditures and look at what was planned versus what we're seeing so far, which is also good. Going to the first page of revenues, which is on page 3 of the financial statements. Your major revenues are highlighted here. And you can see what was brought in at this same point in the year for the last 2 fiscal years of 20 and 2021. And then the period actual that came in October, and then the year-to-date actual compared to budget, and what percent of budget has been received already. So your property taxes came in a little over budget. The sales tax is right around that 83% for the year elapsed. You'll get more, of course, near the Christmas sales. Building use tax is a little lower than expected because not so much activity this year. But your franchise fees from public service, which is one of your biggies, is right on schedule at near the 83% mark of the budget. Your licenses and permits have already come into 125,000. I'm sorry, 125% of budget, so they came in stronger than expected, but they're not a major revenue. That's why they're not highlighted there, any individual one. But your state shared taxes and your sales taxes from marijuana and the county are shown here. And the marijuana special sales tax is lower than expected in the budget, but it's still at 75% so far, 75,000 so far this year. Fines at about 67%. And total revenue is at 87% of what was budgeted. So you've received 3,114,000 through October, and 3,544,000 was budgeted. Moving on to the expenditures, we just pretty much look at the bottom lines of each department on these for this report. And here's streets is at about 83% as budgeted. Admin on page 7 and 8 is at 72%, so it's coming in lower than the budgeted expenses were, as are the community promotion and building inspection. So that building inspection expenses is lower than expected, and we already mentioned that the revenues from building use tax was lower than expected, so those coincide. Police expenditures are at 76% for the year. They had some vacancies earlier that kept them from spending all that had been budgeted in those months. Court is right about 83%, and the fire department we send over quarterly generally. So, actually the whole amount has already been spent over there, 144,000. Parks expenditures are at around 70% for the year. Probably most of those have been expended so far. Cemetery, very little action there. And then the transfer to the police pension plan happens quarterly. This is the one that's quarterly. So here at the end of the expenditures, I mentioned we'd be looking at the net revenue over expenditures again. And again, this bottom line in the year-to-date column is the 307,000 that we saw on the balance sheet as increasing the assets, the net equity of the town. And there's why you've got $307,000 of revenues that were greater than your expenditures in the general fund. But the budget was that it would be going in the hole a little bit, not spending money you didn't have, but drawing on your reserves a bit. And at this point in the year, it doesn't look like that's going to be necessary. So that's a good sign. It's in cemetery fund is one of your trust funds that has nothing happening this year. The ramp fund is the money that came from the state to take care of Colorado Boulevard. We're going to be drawing this down till it's gone, and the fund balance started the year at 722,000. You've spent more than has been brought in for the year, but there's still a fair amount left there of what you started with. The only thing that came in was the interest. There's no new money coming from the state on that, but you're gradually spending it as needed for repair and maintenance. The improvement fund, here's where we always highlight these advances due from the water fund and the wastewater fund. And so we have budgeted, as you may recall, in the 2023 budget to get these smaller amounts paid off right away, and then to systematically pay back this 2.2 million that's owed to this fund by the wastewater fund. The fund balance shows 5 million in fund balance, but the only money they currently have are these three numbers at the top in white, not the yellow amounts which are still due to them. The improvement fund also shows the revenues coming in for sales taxes, building and use taxes, motor vehicle use taxes, some interest earned, and then some parking revenues in the past went in here, but no longer do. They go into the parking enterprise fund now. You got some state grant money coming in and the Parks and Wildlife grant coming into this fund for projects that are shown on this page. Total expenditures for the year are about $1 million and the budget was 5 million. Conservation Trust Fund is the lottery monies. It started the year with a fund balance of $81,544. So far during the year, you've received 3 of the quarterly payments, adding another 8 grand to the mix and a little bit of interest earned on that. And no expenditures. So this fund will be going up by about the amount of the revenues that are coming in for future projects for parks. Street sales tax fund started the year with the $1,750,000, the 1% street sales tax. And you're bringing that in, it's about where expected, 83%, 84.1% so far for the year. Some interest earned there and some projects done with it. This fund also pays the debt service on the street revenue bonds that were used initially to do several projects around town. Here's the water fund. Those are the same advances that were shown for the general fund and the 3 general fund advances that will be paid back right away. The fund equity starting the year was $6,036,000. Most of that was in the form of fixed assets up in the assets there, the 13 million minus depreciation. But you do have some cash assets there of about $1.6 million plus some receivables from your customers. So there's money coming in here that can be used to pay these advances back. And then you'll soon be getting next year more money with the sales tax that you just passed the ordinance for and was approved by the voters. The water fund, page 28, shows the revenues for the year. Again, if you look at the highlighted one, you'll see that far right number is 92% of budgeted revenues have come in through October. That's great. So those look to be very much on track. Then the expenditures, we've got the operations component here. It's at about 55% of what was budgeted. And the distributions at 71.6%. It's on page 30 of the report. And then you've got a little bit spent on some upgrades. And then you have your debt service over here, which is a fair amount of the budget of this fund. So of the total expenditures so far for the year of 624,000, you're looking right above that, the 227,000, roughly a third of the total expenditures are for the debt service for that you used to build infrastructure in the past. Wastewater, similar story, but a little bit more dramatic in the amounts that it owes to the other funds. So these are all highlighted here. And again, these smaller amounts in the 5-figure ones and probably the 6-figure one will be paid back sooner. And then the last one, the $2.241 million will be paid back as soon as possible, but over time. Fund equity of the 7 million at the bottom. I will run this back up to show you again. Here's your cash. Most of your equity is in the improvements minus depreciation. So your cash is very slight compared to the total equity of the fund. And especially when looking at what you owe in cash back to some other funds. So you'll soon be getting some other revenue here from property taxes, but you want to always keep your eye on the rates and make certain that they're going to be ample enough to pay for your ongoing expenditures and debt service and future capital needs as you go, repairs, etc. Page 34 is the charges for services. And again, you're at about 83% for the year, so that you're on track with what was budgeted. Just want to know if you can budget more in the future to help the health of this fund have larger numbers coming in. Got a little bit of money coming in here. Operational expenses on the next page are similar to what we saw for water. They're lower than the 83% for the year, and the collections is about 78%. You've had some capital project monies spent, and then you've got your debt service on page 34, which again is over 200,000. And that's for the actual loans from other agencies, not for the interfund loans owed to the other funds that the city has. Parking enterprise fund. This one has money coming in, about 37,000 for the month. It's a new fund. There's nothing in past years. And so far there's about $280,000 in this fund that can be used for the parking project and parking operations. And then we've got the police pension fund, which will be going away as the last pensioner has passed, and we'll be holding the balance of this fund back, putting it to rest. You may not need the full amount of this final transfer that was budgeted because all of the obligations of the fund have been met at this point. And that's about it for October. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Lori? Great, thank you so much. It's always good to have you. I appreciate you going over this.
You're welcome, Mayor. Thank you. Glad to be here. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is City Attorney. Is she with us tonight?
No, sir.
Okay, then we will go with Assistant City Administrator. You don't have anything extra for us tonight, do you?
No, sir.
Okay. And Deputy City Clerk, nothing more, right?
Nothing more.
Okay. And Jared, anything additional?
Not this evening.
Okay, thank you. Chief, anything more tonight?
No, we had one person show up for our testing, which is, we originally thought we were gonna have 3, so it was a little disappointing to only have 1. So we're going through that process and we'll see where that leads us. So,
And of course, Cade graduates December 1st.
right, this week, this
Very
Thursday.
good, on Thursday. Nice.
Yeah.
All right, looking forward to that.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Chief. Mr. Bardoni, anything further for us tonight?
Nothing additional there.
Okay. Then before we adjourn, I just want to say that Kate Collier believes that she is past any contagious point. But she didn't want to push her luck and get something else. So she's wearing a mask.
Uh-oh.
And not to put Kate on the spot, but I'm just saying, it actually made the meeting tonight possible because we are just barely hanging on.
Yeah.
Right, four is the minimum for a quorum. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And anyways, our next work session is December the 5th. And then the next regular meeting, of course, is December 12th, 2022. Well, if there isn't anything further, I will call it adjourned at 7:20.